personal views on this kind of issue with such a great distinguished audience. First of all, I think there has been commitment on the highest level of the government to the concept of green economy. 2.5 years ago, September 2009, the Chinese President Hu Jintao announced that China is going to go in the direction of green economy and also a low carbon economy. That was, as far as I can tell, the first time we see the Chinese leadership announced the commitment to the green economy in the world platform. And as a matter of fact, you can go a little bit back to 5 years ago, and during the 17th Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, and the concept of ecological civilization was highlighted back then in the same spirit of the green economy as I understand it. If we look at the Chinese 11th five-year plan, already these concepts translated into plans, the national plans. For instance, the energy intensity target, 20% reduction in energy intensity, which was ultimately achieved 19.1%. And during that 5 years, we can see there are a number of progress made. We can talk about that later, including that energy intensity target and other reduction target in environmental pollution. And also, very importantly, we can see, it's not just a discourse at the government at the highest level. You can see that there has been an implementation mechanism specified and strongly enforced through the government system, 5 different layers including the central government and the local government. And as a result of that, in the last couple of years, we see some very interesting local initiatives, bottom-up initiatives, low carbon city. For instance, there has been, in 2009, there was 120 cities and provinces. They were interested in participating in the pilot program. In the end, the national government selected 5 provinces and 8 cities for the pilot. So that's been going on really in some very interesting way. A lot of innovative ideas from that. So another as an evidence of committing to the idea of the green economy, you can see the investment in, for example, energy efficiency and renewable energy has been really growing in a very fast rate. In our study, we see as much as $400 billion US was invested in these 2 areas. You can see the Bloomberg UNEP report last year in the year 2010 alone was just about $50 billion US invested in these renewable energy areas. So I see there's not only a conceptual discussion and commitment, but also already translated into actions. More of this can be seen in the 12th five-year plan that spans from 2006, from 2011 last year to 2015, which we can also talk about later. So I just want to make one distinction though. These so far has been a domestic agenda on green economy, low carbon economy. It is not the global international agenda. And there is a distinction in the discussion between a domestic agenda on green economy and a global agenda on green economy. I think the people in academia, in government, NGOs, and different business sectors still contemplating what does it mean by the term of green economy and what are the implications if we make this international green economy, for the next few years or decades to come. I think that's exactly where the area we platforms like this can address that kind of differences, and how we can carry on the domestic agenda and to make it integrated well in this concerted effort as part of the global agenda.
Thank you. Maybe one question. You quoted one UNEP Bloomberg study. There's another one report that recently came out by World Bank referring to the particular question of growth. That contrasts a little bit with what you have described as depending on different scenarios of, I think, 7 and 9% growth rates, that by the year 2030 greenhouse gas emissions will raise either by 82 or 142%. To what extent then is that captured into, I mean, the industry is, or GDP is growing, industrial production is growing, energy demand is increasing, water demand, any resource is increasing. To what extent is that part of this domestic strategy?
Well, if you look at the emissions, the growth of carbon dioxide emissions and also the consumption of energy, you see a very interesting, I call it the X-shaped curve. We look at the overall, the total emissions from China, that has been going up very fast, in a very fast rate. The projection of that is really amazing. Then from the Chinese side, you often hear the story about the decreasing trend of the energy intensity. So therefore, you have these two lines. I think it is important to look at both trends right now. And this I see is really the feature, the characteristic for the development, low carbon or high carbon, whatever you call it, development for China. And for a long time, this will continue to be the case. And the Chinese effort so far has been focusing on the energy intensity, the carbon intensity, also as an indicator added to the 12th five-year plan. For the 12th five-year plan, within the government and also with the research community, there has been very serious discussion and consideration for overall cap of the cap of overall energy consumption. For instance, a lot of people are talking about is 4.1 billion tons of coal equivalent. And if we're trying to achieve the target, not more than 4.1 billion tons coal equivalent, so that means in our calculation, that means you have to maintain the growth rate lower than the one you have just specified, 7.5, and also at the same time you're trying to achieve the target of 16% cut in energy intensity. So we have seen this kind of a very serious discussion, and also very likely, in my view, is going to be part of the national policy to be implemented on that. But people also realize it is a really tough job to limit that growth rate, economic growth rate, GDP, from the local government. The local governments have this amazing drive for growth. That is a huge challenge.
In Germany, we have a discussion about growth, and there's one institution created by the German Parliament, an institutional mechanism called Enquete Commission, where over a long period of time, expert hearings will be held in Parliament and with parliamentarians. There is one on growth, and it is said that Germany is an example of a low growth society, because I think average growth over the past 10 years was a little more than 1%. That was not part of a 5 or 10 years plan, and I think it was not planned at all. And at the same time, we have something that comes very close to transition, the transition of the energy system. So I think at the moment we have a quite dynamic situation in Germany, even though some people argue that green economy is nothing else than decoupling, reducing resource intensity, green growth discourses that we had already for the past 20 years. Do you think that there's much dynamic at the moment?
Well, of course, the German energy transition is a huge task. It's an ambitious objective that the German policymakers and the German society has set for itself. And it is not easy to equate that with a transition towards a green economy. I think you can equate the energy transition with a transition towards a low carbon economy. And what it means for economic growth is one of the open questions, obviously, related to it. So the German energy transition, I think, you can see it as one of the examples for a bottom-up process, which is directly linked to a global discussion on climate policy. So in this sense, we don't have this strict distinction between domestic and global policies, because the energy transition includes targets for reducing emissions, so 40% by 2020, 95% by 2050. And it's built on an array of measures which are geared towards increasing the share of renewable energies in energy consumption, in energy generation, and also with regard to increasing energy efficiency. And I think this is important because it links a debate on a domestic process of change, on distributing the costs for that, with a commitment based on global parameters. And I think in the area of energy policy, climate policy, we can do that because it's quite clear what the global parameters are. And they have been accepted in the German debate. We have the 2 degrees Celsius target, and we have the carbon budget available in the global atmosphere related to the 2 degrees target. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we have a clear time plan and we have a clear overall plan how to achieve the energy transition. That's the dynamic part in the German debate. What would be the right institutional mechanisms we need? We need an energy ministry for that, and so on. Now, there is a second area where I think we maybe can say that we have a clear distinction between global and national or European or German processes, and I would. This is the case in the area of agricultural food consumption, because I think we need to be clear that energy policy is one part of the green economy agenda, but it's not the whole. And one thing we are facing also in the energy transition is what about trade-offs, for example, between biodiversity protection and renewable energy. So much of the local resistance which is there in Germany against, for example, the super grid and this